Here's more wrestling news for December 2nd, 2022. And we're starting off this afternoon with WWE, and for decades, Kevin Dunn served Vince McMahon loyalty, but when the former chairman retired, some felt that Dunn's days as EVP of TV production were coming to an end. Dunn's presence in the company has remained in question for months, as in June, WrestleNomics' Brandon Thurston said how it's a well-known fact that he and Stephanie McMahon don't get along. Another sign of Dunn's apparent exit is that Ringside News was told that he wasn't at Survivor Series Wargames, and it's very rare for him to miss any WWE events. Ringside News were told that Dunn took a vacation for Thanksgiving weekend, and that his absence was a topic of conversation among producers. In his place, Brian Fadum ran the production truck, but nobody should see this as a sign of his rumored departure. Dunn may not be best friends with Stephanie McMahon, but the two are able to put their differences aside for business, as Fightful Select reports that Dunn is still with WWE, with no plans for him to leave. It was in August that Triple H spoke about Dunn, telling ESPN that the new regime plans to continue the legacy of WWE's past success, but that'll require a hardworking team of individuals, and name-dropped Kevin Dunn. Dunn may not be too well liked, and there is the rumor that Vince McMahon found him so ugly he wasn't allowed a picture on WWE's corporate website, but the man has been with WWE for decades and isn't going anywhere at this time. It's safe to say that WWE is the biggest promotion in all of professional wrestling, and whether fans love it or hate it, wrestling wouldn't be the same without it. Part of what made WWE so big is what's called tuck-in acquisitions, buying promotions to incorporate into your own show, as we saw with WCW and OVW years ago. When Stephanie McMahon spoke at the Wells Fargo 2022 TMT Summit, the WWE chairwoman said that any potential acquisition must align with our capabilities, and teased that WWE could go into another sport altogether, professional boxing. McMahon explained that in the boxing world there's so many lineal champions, world champions, and other belts that it's hard to keep track of everything, and is interested in acquiring some boxing promotions. Despite best being known for wrestling, boxing is in the McMahon blood, as Stephanie's great-grandfather Roderick James McMahon was a boxing promoter in addition to concerts and wrestling. Whether these plans become anything more than plans, only time will tell, but it may not be long before McMahon has her own boxing promotion in addition to WWE. The wrestling world was changed forever when Vince McMahon retired in July, but the effects of the scandal were felt long after his retirement. When speaking at the Wells Fargo TMT conference, Stephanie McMahon said that WWE is seeing a positive momentum with sponsorships after a pause this past summer. We're seeing positive momentum with sponsors, and again, like I said on the calls, we did have a pause. In addition to the macro headwinds, of course, there was some change and things that happened in our company this year, and we're definitely seeing for the next year what we wanted to see. It isn't too surprising that McMahon used vague language and avoided referencing her dad by name, as WWE has worked to distance themselves from the former chairman of the board. 2023 will be the first full calendar year in the post-Vince McMahon era, but with business booming, things are looking bright for Stephanie McMahon's company. Over to AEW, as plenty of big names appeared on this week's Dynamite on the road to AEW Winter is Coming, but Chris Jericho was nowhere to be seen. It's rare for Jericho to miss an episode of Dynamite, but his work with Fozzy is what kept him away. Not only was Jericho not in the same city as Dynamite, he wasn't in the same country. As while the wrestlers were lighting it up in Indianapolis, Jericho and his band were rocking out in Brisbane, Australia. Jericho missed this week's show, but he will be at next week's ROH Final Battle event, where he'll defend the World Championship against Claudio Castagnoli in what will be a match worthy of the main event. One name we won't see at Final Battle or any ROH AEW event is CM Punk, whose time with the company has seemingly ended. During the investigation into the all-out fight, Punk's side claimed that his dog Larry had been injured in the fight, a claim that was dismissed by others who had been in attendance. Now Punk has tried to give proof to his claim, sharing an image of Larry on his Instagram, who is missing some front teeth. It was alleged that when the Elite arrived in Punk's locker room on that fateful September night, the door was kicked open, resulting in Larry losing some front teeth in the process. The investigation into the brawl has since concluded, and judging by how things are looking, the results have condemned Punk, who is expected to part ways with AEW if he hasn't already. Whether Larry lost his front teeth in the fight or if this is just an awkward smile from the pooch, we may never know, but it's clear that Punk is sticking to his story. More from AEW as this week's Dynamite saw the third match of the best-of-7 series between the Elite and the Death Triangle, which saw Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks get their first win. Death Triangle came up short in this all-important match, and that wasn't the worst of it for one member in particular. During Wrestling Observer Live, Brian Alvarez revealed that Pac wrestled the match with a broken nose, which was originally suffered during the six-man tag bout at Full Gear. This explains why Pac has been wearing a face mask in recent weeks, and we can't imagine the pain his face is in, but he is still opting to wrestle. When sources inquired, they learned that the break could have been much worse, but it's still going to be weeks before Pac's face is 100%. The best-of-7 series is still in its early days, and there's plenty more matches to go, but hopefully the AEW Trios champion will have some time to get fully healed. Now MJF has proven himself to be a bona fide star of AEW, as we all saw at Full Gear with his World Championship victory over Jon Moxley. The holder of the Big Burberry belt, MJF's character work is matched by his impressive physique, but it is perhaps a bit too impressive for one person. Taking to Twitter, Ryback Reeves insinuated that MJF uses steroids to enhance his body, saying that he'd be 30 pounds lighter if he worked for WWE due to the wellness policy. Ryback also claimed that MJF is a hard sell as a cruiserweight champ, let alone the AEW World Champion, again implying that the use of steroids has led to a better push. As we all know, Ryback never became world champion in WWE and has been known to be extremely bitter on social media in the years since his 2016 release, and don't expect to see the big guy in AEW. For wrestlers, winning a championship title marks the reward to a career of hard work and sacrifices, but some special people also get championship gold. Recently, Officer Alec Lorado of the Bristol, Connecticut Police was awarded a championship for his immense bravery in the line of duty. After his sergeant and lieutenant were killed by a gunman, Lorado was able to stop the shooter, killing them reportedly with one single shot. Sonya Deville, Liv Morgan, and Braun Strowman all made the trip to present Alec with the title, and while WWE superstars may play heroes on TV, it was Officer Lorado who was the real-life hero. And we're ending today with Brock Lesnar, who has dominated pro wrestling even if he isn't a regular on TV. Lesnar's success means he can easily afford to go weeks or even months without wrestling thanks to a high-dollar contract, but that's partly thanks to Mr. Perfect. In his book Death Clutch, Lesnar explains that he was close to Kurt Hennig and was given 5 words of advice that stuck with him to this day. Kurt taught me something that sticks with me to this day. In the wrestling business, you have to get in to get out. I can still hear him say the line. Kurt knew that the pro wrestling business was built on a pile of people who had been used from everything they were worth and then dumped on the side of the road. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, I'm just saying that's how it is. Since that's the score in pro wrestling, Kurt came up with the idea that the only way to keep your sanity or your health was to get in to get out. Lesnar is now 45, but is much more comfortable than countless other veterans, and it goes to show that Brock has been able to leave his mark in wrestling without getting stuck or too hurt. That's it, guys. That's your wrestling news for today. Make sure to check out our channel for amazing wrestling content. Also, subscribe to our channel for daily wrestling news.